And welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, RFP Refugees podcast. Ted here, John here. Well, we're here for John and Ted's happy sad time, mostly sad. John, how are you doing? How was your weekend, buddy? Did all the teams you support? Well, I guess no. I will say the Spirit. The Spirit saved the weekend. Saved the weekend. 1-0 victory. Congratulations to them. We'll talk a little bit about them. But my teams unfortunately suffered a negative 13 goal differential this weekend. That's fun.
Yeah, no, I'm a Chelsea fan, so I had an okay weekend from that perspective. But everything else was bad. I didn't have to watch the Kickers lose, so that was probably good for me. But other than that,
they'll be fine.
What are you gonna do?
They got 2 games in hand. They'll be fine.
I was making a lot of declarative statements about what was going to happen after that DC United game, and thus far they've all been wrong. Yeah. So we'll talk about that, I'm sure.
I'm sure as John lights himself up, suddenly you can see him again. He's
on and
not
off.
Speaking.
Hello, goodbye.
He is not speaking in the darkness of the abyss that is DC United season.
We're gonna need Ted to go on like a long 10-minute riff, so I can go off camera and fix an AC adapter to my lights.
Oh, I can do that. I can certainly do that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Ready to do
I
it.
can set you up and go. I'm sure we can do that in a little bit.
I called into the American Soccer Show because Jason, despite being from DC, hardly ever talks about DC because usually he's talking about some other things. So I decided he finally was talking about Ben Olsen and the snafu, which we will get into. So I called into his show to say my thoughts. So maybe I completely, blew anything that I had that would be considered good content for this show. Who knows? We'll find out.
You can repurpose. It's fine.
Yes.
I wouldn't worry about it.
All right. Where to begin? I'm really trying to figure out where to begin. I mean, let's talk about the game. Let's talk about DC United's 4-0 loss.
4-0.
4-0.
4 goals.
4 goals. I remember actually. So I was standing in the line to get a drink at the Kickers game, and I was thinking maybe I would turn the game on my phone and I would watch it. And I was getting in line, and I missed the foot knob notification where it tells me that they kicked off. And instead what I got is the
goal notification.
You got the goal notification 4 minutes in. I watched that goal when I got home, and it was bad. It was really, really bad. It was so unbelievable how easy it was for Atlanta to sort of break our midfield and break our lines. Like, I was impressed with how easy it was. So
yes.
It's and it was a bad goal, and I feel bad for Bill because I think there's nothing Bill could do about it. It was completely left open I forget who scored. It was left open in the center of the field.
A guy I had never heard of before, and a guy who I assumed was Adam John, but he was not Adam John. It was a different guy.
Yeah.
Champion?
What's that?
Was the last name Champion?
Maybe it was also some guy too I'd never heard of. I was like, who is this guy? I have no idea who this guy is.
Good.
And he scores a goal. Imagine if Joseph Martinez was out there this game, he probably would have had a hat trick on us because that's usually what happens in this game. I watched a little bit more, took a little bit more of the game. I thought Jordi Reyna was at least there trying to do things. The team was very, very much playing off to the side. I mean, if you look at the Opta passing map, you see a lot of movement sort of around the middle of the field and the center of the field. There was virtually nothing sort of in that middle of that 18. A lot of misplayed crosses. Like you and Charlie talked last game. Just this team gets the ball out wide, tries to play a cross in, and nothing happens. That was bad, and If what happened, if the thing we're about to talk about, the unbelievable, almost comical snafu doesn't happen, we're probably talking about the fact that this team again has played a game without getting a single shot on goal, and this time they couldn't even get a point. They got completely blown out of the park. I don't know where this team goes from here. I don't know how you can. What's that?
I said up. I think.
In theory. Oh, my goodness. I'm just looking at the shot map, and it's like blocks from outside the 18, long shots. No, there's nothing. There's nothing here.
0. Bagel.
What's that?
Bagel. It was no shots, correct?
Oh, it was. We had 8 shots. 8 shots. But we had
goal.
0 on target.
Yeah.
Nothing
it's
on
hard
target.
To score if they're not on target.
Yeah,
back to a negative.
and even just looking at where the goals happened for Atlanta, they're all inside the 18, which means the defense didn't even do their job in this game. I mean, this was just they got played out of the park by a team that's bad. And it's official. We are now the team where if you are having a bad season, you can get your season turned around. You can suddenly look like at least marginally better as soon as you play DC. We are 2013 levels of bad right now. This is a squad that has better players than that squad, more highly paid than that squad, but is doing basically the same things, and it doesn't even have an open cup to bail them out this year. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you for the rest of the year. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do anymore. It is trying, like, there was maybe a brief moment in that TFC game where maybe I could get a little bit excited. Okay, we got these young guys coming in, these young guys, and then it's like it's been gone. I have to wonder about the players. I think he is losing the locker room. You guys talked about the shifting narrative last week on Charlie's show. My first response is always, we don't know when the first quote was. The first quote obviously coming from Stephen Goff saying that, unless there's a string of bad results. I think we're at that point. We're on a string of like unbelievably bad results. I don't know when that quote that Stephen Goff got, when that came from. It could have been after the MLS's back tournament, which is my guess. And then now the narrative has completely shifted. I don't know where this team goes from here, and we can talk about the snafu and how bad that is, but any other thoughts about the game, like overall, or is it just there's nothing, it's bad?
No, I mean they capitulated, right? Like they did not try. Griffin Yao was getting kicked to shit, and nobody did anything about it. Miles Robinson was just kicking him up and down the field, and nothing happened. There was no Felipe on the field to manage. Briant got tangled up later on, but nothing about that, unfortunately. Does it really matter? No, it doesn't really matter. But it is about mentality, and it is about, like, what are you playing for? And if you're not playing for your teammates, then what are you playing for in a 4-0 loss?
And to your point, that was happening. That's happened earlier in the season to Kevin Paredes, and there isn't anybody on this field who's willing to stand up, because you could argue maybe Griffin Yao could do that, but I mean there isn't anybody on that field. You are absolutely right. There's no Felipe, a guy who's going to go in, get in that face of the other player and say you can't do that. There's none of that. It's guy, he gets fouled, everybody just kind of hangs their head, prepares for the free kick. Yep. So there is no effort, there is no energy on the field, and then we get into a player who probably could provide that. Russell Canals. I kind of tried to watch this as it was sort of happening on the replay. I've seen the reports all over. It's almost like you're sitting there thinking it can't get any worse. I mean, what are they going to do? Score 2 more goals on us and we're going to lose 4-0? I mean, that's all that's going to happen. It can't get any worse. And then this happens.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say.
I think losing 4-0 is worse than this. Like, this is just stupid and bad, and it's embarrassing. But so is losing 4-0 in Atlanta, and actually, I think probably more embarrassing. But in case somehow, for some reason, you're listening to this show and did not watch the Atlanta game, also maybe you're a genius for not having watched the Atlanta game.
Yeah.
So we attempted to sub on. First of all, at halftime, they talked to Ben, and Ben said, we've got to make some changes. Some of these players are not giving the performances we want. And they took off Nyman and Yao. Yao was, I think, probably DC United's best player in that first half. He was the most active. He was being kicked a lot, but he was certainly making efforts to score and efforts to move the ball, and other players maybe weren't. Nyman, I think, more of a mixed performance, but certainly not the worst player on the field. I think that's pretty inarguable. So at half, we bring on Russell Canals for Nyman, except for the fact that a minute and a half later, the 46th minute, the fourth official, the VAR official, tells the fourth official, hang on a second, wait a second, he is not on the roster as an illegal substitution. So then for about 10 minutes, probably, we tried to figure out, what does that mean exactly, and what do we do with that, and is that actually true? And they brought out iPhones, and they looked at the roster that was submitted, and true enough, Russell Canals was not on the roster. so that happens. There was some reporting by MLS by Pablo today, sort of talking about, and my video is gone again, but you can still hear me. So the what happened there was that the normally as the sub is happening, the fourth official is checking that book and making sure that it's legal. And they didn't this time because they usually just assume no one's going to try to put somebody on that isn't on the roster. Why would you do that? It's dumb and weird. But we did, and we did that, I think, accidentally, obviously. But so that happened. There was a bit of a confusion about should we have to forfeit for that? Should we take a red? Should we have to play down a man with that? Should we burn a substitution for that? The answer was I think burned a substitution. I think we lost a sub. But the sub never happened. Russell had to go to the locker room. That was apparently very important. That Russell could not be.
That's a FIFA.
Could not be on the bench. Yeah. Could not be in the stands. He's got to go. He's got to not exist. He's a ghost now. Persona non grata. Get out of here, Canals. And then the team got worse. But that 10 minutes was just it felt like, I think I said at the time on Twitter, like, all right, this is compounding errors. This is like a thing. This is a cosmic sign that something has to change with this team because this does not normally happen, and it has happened. And we need to, the world is telling us something right now. And I don't think we're listening, apparently. I think we're just not going to listen to what the universe is trying to tell us.
Yeah, there was a moment in that was pretty funny when it was Ben Olsen yelling over at the Atlantic coach. I'm pretty sure it was the Atlantic's coach. And he's like, what do you want us to do? Forfeit? Shut up. And that's like,
that was great.
That was like of the one moment we got a bit of comedy out of that, and Ben Olsen provides comedy sometimes. But I mean, I want to talk about so it happens. It's a screw up. It's not unprecedented in MLS. Oscar Pereira, who's a fantastic coach in MLS, did it in FC Dallas once. It's certainly not going to happen. I think the referees, you will not see that fourth official. That fourth official will probably be suspended for that because it looks just as bad on the coach as it does the referees because they let the sub happen, and it makes the whole pro look bad. So I'm actually I do this sometimes when things like this happen, and I look and see, okay, are we going to see that fourth official ever again? Maybe he gets a chance to make up for it. So yeah, you are correct. I think it is a situation where, maybe if the referee catches it, it doesn't happen and saves, quote unquote, saves Ben Olsen's bacon, or they let him add him to the roster before the game.
Because remember, we were dressing 2 backup goalies.
Yeah.
So certainly we could have made room.
Oh, that just makes it even worse. But I want to talk. I mean, Ben Olsen's comments after the game actually made me more angry because he said, I don't know whose fault it is. And to me, that screams, I want to forget about.
He said, I'm not going to give you the name. He says, I don't think it does anyone any good if we get into the specifics of whose exact fault this was. It wasn't mine, basically, is what he's saying.
And that's what I'm getting at. I'm sorry. You're the coach. You're the manager. You set the lineups. You set the 18. You make that decision. If Russell Canals is not on that list, that stops with you. You didn't take the chance to check the list. You didn't take and maybe you just handed it to him and someone didn't write down. There was some miscommunication there. That's fine. Take responsibility. You are the manager of this team. You are the coach of this team. Take responsibility. And he used to do that. There have been plenty of moments when he has taken responsibility for losses. It's not happening anymore.
Well, I think because his seat is hot, right? Like I think he knows. I think he's willing to take the blame for his own mistakes, I think, at this particular point. But I think at this point he is so tenuous that he's not willing to jump on anyone else's grenade. Now, say what you will about that for leadership, and I think it's very fair to say that's not what you want in a leader. I, for some reason, feel some bit of understanding for the fact that he has 3 choices. One is he could say, buck stops here. Anything that happens is my fault. I'm the coach. That's fine. That's the thing you could do. The other thing you could do is say, it was Rory's fault. Rory didn't fill the sheet out right. It's not a big deal, but we're going to fix it going forward. And then option 3 was saying, like, listen, it's a collective failure. I don't know. We don't have to get exactly now what happened, but it happened, and we're going to move on from that. I think it's more important to talk about the game performance. I don't know. For some reason, I'm much more upset with the way the team played the response of the senior players, and we're going to talk about that too. But just it was a, I think the sub thing was more of a symbol, like a really bad symbol about where this team is at and where attention to detail is and where, how we look to the rest of the league. Like, awful.
I mean, in my opinion, I mean, Ben's going to get, I think, until this team is eliminated from the playoffs or in the playoffs. And then I am fully projecting now he is going to be shown the door. And I think I'm curious, like, what the, like, I mean, I know, like, it's like 15 teams make the playoffs out of 16 or something like that. So we have to literally finish, dead last. We are dead last. We are the worst team in Major League Soccer right now.
Wooden spoon, baby.
Yeah, we are chasing that number 3 draft pick because there are going to be 2 expansion teams that are going to take the number 1 and number 2. You guys were talking on the show about how we're going to be the number 1 or 2 draft pick. I'm like, we got expansions. We're going to be the number 3 draft pick.
Garbage.
It's going to be like that. It's going to be like that for a while. I mean, I just don't even know where you can get into, like, perform. I mean, it's been about the same. It was the same since New England. I don't think there's anything different, anything new you saw. Like I said, I thought Jordi Reyna at least tried to make things a little interesting. I thought he at least was trying to involve himself in the game and be the guy to take the ball. I think he's still learning his teammates, but I mean, I thought he was okay. He didn't do anything special, but he was okay. And then you have you potentially had 2 red cards in this game. I think summing it up, you had Frederick Brilliant's denial and Donald Obviously Terry, which is fine. And then you have Yamil Assad with a two-footed scissor tackle that probably maybe the referee was just like, I don't even want to mess with that.
I think we may still even hear about that. I think there's a chance that the disciplinary committee looks at it. Although I thought it would have probably already happened on Monday, but I thought a lot of things would have happened on Monday, and I've not been right about any of them.
Yeah. What were you wrong about? I want to know.
That Ben Olsen would no longer be the head coach of DC United. Was what I thought would be on Monday, would be the thing that would happen. But I'm not right. So I think there were a lot of people that agreed with that concept. I think there were a lot of people that were like you that were saying that nope, it's a cost thing. It's a what is left in the season thing. I get all that.
I think it is it would not surprise me if they are covertly kicking some tires. They're calling up some people. They are, making some phone calls. Hey, try to think of a name. Hey, William Cabrera, how are you doing? What's
Frank Yallop up to these days?
Oh God, no! Please no! No.
No, I'm not saying I want him. I'm just saying like that seems like a guy.
Hey, Jason, Jason Christ, how you doing? What's up to you? Are you still coaching Fort Lauderdale? Interested in coming back? He's a guy. I think I would put it on my list of potential coaches that could take over this team.
Well, I think unfortunately, Jason Levy and the rest of ownership is a little busy right now. There's a bit of a coup in the Swansea board this week or today. What's the other guy's name? What's the other rich guy's? Steve Kaplan?
Yeah, I think
Steve Kaplan is no longer the chair of the board at Swansea. He's been removed. The cause behind that has not yet been released. He still has an ownership stake. He still has all of the other titles that he has with the club. He has the same ownership stake as he did before, but now he no longer is the chairman. So watch this space. I think there may be some more news coming out about this, both from Kaplan and from Jason Levian, who are the majority owners of the team. But there seems to be a little bit of a problem going on. So keep that in mind as we continue to say, why doesn't ownership care? Why are they not making moves here? They may have their hands full. But just to wrap up, sort of why I thought maybe this was it. Like I said before about the substitution, that's stupid, but it's symbolic. Losing 4-0 to this team, because when you look at the rest of the schedule, and you're thinking about, whoa, we're still live for playoff hopes. Like, point wise, we're still technically there. I'd bet the house on the fact we won't. Like, this team is dead. This team is dead from the neck up. As it goes, and it's not going to get better. And we kept talking about injuries, we're not really that injured anymore. Ariola's out. Yep, he's been out all year. That sucks. And Edison Flores wasn't good when he was fit. So that's not what's making our team bad. That's not what is making this team unable to score. And my video went again. But it's the excuses are leaving. They're gone. They're leaving the station. So I figured that just from a means of keeping the dedicated fan on board, and to say, we hear you, we understand this is not going to make things better, but something needs to change. Obviously, that we have like 37 more games in October. It's going to be ugly. If the senior players have quit, if the young players are stagnating, I don't think they are. I think they're still doing well, but the rest of the team does not seem to really have any answers. This is going to be horrible to watch. This is going to be a grind for. No one's going to make you watch. We're going to watch, and we're going to keep doing stupid podcasts about this team. But it's going to be really. It's not going to be enjoyable whatsoever. This is going to be the slog. This is going to be our own personal marathon.
In my opinion, Ben Olsen will be gone once this team is mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. Once it is clear that it is over, that this team
and Ryan Martin will come as an interim, I hope.
Maybe, who knows? I don't know if it even really matters at this point. I think this is just, the team is just like, and the Swansea thing might not be a bad theory. This team, they might be so tied up with Swansea. We're like, you know what? We can use the argument, hey, we're giving Ben till the end of the year to turn it around or to figure it out. So I mean, it's all possible. Maybe they're leaving it up to Dave Casper. Who knows?
But he needs to go too, right? Dave's got to go. If Ben goes, Dave's got to go.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. Hiring a GM, unless I don't think Dave goes unless you have an idea of somebody who you can bring in who's going to take over the whole operation, a Peter Vermees type guy.
We better. I feel like if you're saying that this team as constructed can't win, then the person who built it needs to go.
I'm not willing to jump. I think there is still legitimate talent in this squad. I don't know how
MLS Cup talent.
I don't think MLS Cup talent. I think better than what we're seeing at this point. I think it's worth keeping some of these guys together to see if under a different situation, under a coach that has a better idea of how to utilize them than Ben Olsen does right now, somebody who can come in and do that and make that change. I mean, you can't if you say buy Dave Casper. By the way, call us 202-905-0454.
Dave also just got an extension this offseason too, so keep that in mind as well.
You did?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think Dave leaves. I think Dave gets another chance at hiring a coach. I think we've talked about this before. I think he suddenly becomes on the hot seat. There is a sort of a hierarchy. The coach gets let go. Then the GM gets a chance to hire somebody. It's only after you have multiple failures as sort of a manager, and you have to give, just like you give Ben credit for the times when he managed to sort of squeeze blood out of a stone and get this team to the playoffs when they had no business being there based on their spending. You got to give Dave the same credit for constructing those rosters, and he does. To his credit, he does an excellent job finding value in MLS, bringing it in. He has, I would argue, started to do a little better on the international stage. As he's gotten more of a budget, you can say Lucho was a good find. He wasn't a bust. Wayne Rooney was not a bust. So I think you give a little benefit of the doubt, and I think you have to look at the fact that the players he brought in. Julian Gressel was considered a great move. He's still a really good player. You have to look at Edison Flores, who was not a bum coming out of Liga MX. He was not being tossed off his team. He was having a great season. And yeah, okay, the adjustment in MLS hasn't been great, but you have to look at that as maybe that would be more on the coach.
You don't get credit for just taking the conventional wisdom. That's just saying, as long as you sign players that other GMs think are also good and they suck, then that's okay. You don't worry about it. But I do feel there is something you said, though, there, talking about his ability to wring blood from a stone, that tells you sort of from the horses for courses argument, if we're still going to be a team that isn't going to spend, then the kind of GM you still want is a Moneyball, Billy Bean GM, where he's going to try to just magically wring these players out and find Yordi Reynas, the cast-offs from Vancouver.
Yeah, we got Tim from Vienna is on the phone. He wants to get on the action. Tim, how you doing?
Not good.
None of us are, but go. Yes, we'll go ahead.
I just feel like with this team that we have, I do think we don't have MLS Cup talent, but we definitely got the talent to be competing at the top of the Eastern Conference. But I think Ben Olsen and this ownership group isn't holding this team back, which they have been for many years.
Well, I think that the East is not the West, right? I think that there's an opportunity for us if all pieces were performing to their talent level to be there. I think you're right. I do think though that would require all the things going right. I feel like there's not a lot of contingencies in this roster because it's thin by nature. It's thin by the fact that how much money we have to spend and then sort of about some of the gambles that have not paid off so far. Having one forward at the original and then only two.
Can you hear me?
Second. Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, can you? We can hear you.
Yeah, so what I was saying was I think this ownership and I think Ben Olsen is holding this team back from being a good, decent team.
Yeah, I think I think I agree with you about Ben Olsen certainly holding the team back at this point. I think I've arrived at that. Again, I don't think is this an MLS Cup caliber team. Probably not. I think it's certainly better than what we're getting. And right now that's what I'm wanting at this point. I want something that at least is interesting. And right now we're not getting that.
Yeah, I think Don said that in the comments.
Yeah,
right?
and I feel like if we continue to hold on to Ben Olsen and stay with this plan, then we're going to fall further behind in this league when we need to catch up.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, Tim, thanks so much for jumping on. Thanks for listening too.
So the calls here are going to be a TED-only experience, I think. For whatever reason, they can't hear me on the chat. So keep on rocking. We got another caller.
All right. Well, we got another caller. Who we got coming in?
Dennis, a statement on subs, international players, and coaching. I'll just sit here and be ready.
Oh, that might have been on. This might be on me because I was trying to. I just closed out Skype. That was not smart of me. But yeah, I think Tim sort of echoes a lot of what the fan base is feeling, and there are a lot of people that have felt this for a long time, and there are a lot of people that are upset.
A lot of people angry at us for now, sort of finally.
Oh yeah, I mean they.
To their mind.
I'm gonna go back. I was trying to utilize rather than having to utilize web, and I was trying to actually utilize the app, but I think I'm gonna go back.
They'll teach you. Comments from the chat as we try to get that lined up. The 2020 curse will continue, and we'll end up with Chad Ashton inking a long-term deal. God, that would be something. I'm getting a DC United tattoo in 2 weeks, so if that happens, then I will not do that. and if it happens after my tattoo, I will get it lasered off. Also, only Siam Siralam and Andrea Mancini can save us now. That's a good oldie but goodie. Teams back when we were as bad as we are now, back at RFK. We've got a question here. I think that's pretty good. And they said 290 DC99 says, "Who would you guys keep for next season?" And I think our answers might be different. And I think we have a call ready.
Yep, we do. We have Dennis from. I don't know where Dennis is from. Dennis, how are you doing?
Dennis from wherever you are from.
Yes.
Hi, yeah, this is Dennis here from Washington, D.C. talking.
Yeah, man, go ahead.
I was just wanting to mention a couple of things about the frustration of every, if not most, DC United fan. The first one of them all is, going past the soccer talk about how awful we've been lately since the beginning of the season, except for some sparks of like New York and some ties that we've had at Orlando that were like, we saw some spark of like positivity, but then it all went down again. But the first one of them all is like the club has not been very professional in the way that they have managed things. and you could see that when we were in embarrassment through all the MLS of how we couldn't make a change, a sub. We included a player that was not eligible, or if he was, I don't know the situation because I don't know if he got 2-game suspension or a game suspension, but I know he had already went through one. But the thing is, like, why does management and coaching does not review the roster? Like, you could see how serious they are about this team that they don't even review the roster. So, like you guys were saying, like, most of the problems that we're going through is management and coaching. Like, yeah, I mean, some people are back, some people say, Ben Olsen doesn't have that much of support from management. So, I mean, I guess it's his job, but at some extent, he's also responsible for what's going on the field because he's the one that sends the 11 players to play. He has to review the roster every game. And it seems like they did copy paste, honestly, from the previous game because that was the lineup that he didn't change anything from the lineup.
That's a good point. I didn't think about the fact that it might just be copy paste. It's like if you sent the email and said please see attachment and then didn't include the attachment. That's the soccer equivalent of what just happened.
Exactly. You think because Canoes was not available for that game, so the only thing I'm thinking here is that they were like, yeah, let's just it's game day, like we didn't do our job, so let's just send what we sent last time. And at that point, they didn't realize that Canoes was suspended for that game. So it's just like you have to own your mistakes, and you got to step up and say, hey, everyone, like, sorry, this happened. You got to be, you got to keep accountability of your mistakes because if not, you can just tell the seriousness of how much, you don't care about this team. And, like, if that's the case, just step down. Whoever is the owner right now. I mean, I don't want to point out names, but whoever is the owner, they have to step down or, find another way of investing on this team instead of just calling it like the buzzer point, kind of like entertainment zone. Like I don't give a crap. I don't really like just the mentality of let's keep this a franchise that just brings revenue or like keeps cash flow.
Yeah. No fan. No one's a fan of a real estate development body, like a vehicle. Like no one commits their life and structures their social life and does all these things around a franchise that isn't trying to win or that is about other things. So that I think, from me personally, I think that a lot of fans feel this way. It's like once it stops feeling like that, you start to question your level of engagement. You start to question why you care so much. If it's not, if it feels like ownership has a different take on what this team is going to be or what it can be, like what our horizons are. I think that's really if you go on Reddit right now, Reddit's not really a great barometer of anything, but people are just like, I don't care anymore. Like I used to live and die with this team. I don't even know there's a game on. I don't watch it, mostly because I don't have a news channel 24/7 because no one does. But and beyond that, like I don't care anymore. Like they're not interesting, and they don't speak to me. There's no players on the team I want to watch. So that's like just a crucial indictment of a team that's in a league that's not front and center. You got to be, at least you hope your diehards care about you, and it seems like they don't as much anymore.
Yeah,
I mean exactly. Like if you guys saw, well, I don't know, but the first or the last game, I couldn't even watch the first 30 minutes because the stream was down. So I'm like, what kind of franchise don't even have ready the stream up? I mean, I know you're gonna have technical difficulties, but that's why you test. Like you go in to do your job daily, and obviously you're gonna fail, but like you at least know that you cannot screw it like that when you're in a platform that everyone's watching you. So you can tell that management is not serious about it. Therefore, coaching is also not serious about it. They're trying to be serious about it, but they just have so much to work with. But also, like that's no excuse. Like you have other teams operating with similar budgets in the West, and at least they're doing something out of it. I mean, you see other teams struggling, like San Jose, like, getting all those huge, like, goals against. But then, well, just not to go too far, you see Atlanta United. I saw like an article last time about 5 things that Atlanta United has gotten better at, and one of them was that they kind of like they mentioned we don't want to look like DC United, so that's why we took our coaching. They changed coaching staff. They brought in a new coach. They brought in new players. You saw it on last Saturday how the mentality is completely different. There was only 2 players from the Atlanta United that won the championship in 2018, if I'm not mistaken. Which 2 of the other ones were DC United.
Right, they've got a fan base that will not tolerate that staidness and that sort of staleness. So I think that's something we wish we were right now. I don't think that we have the level of accountability with ownership that a team like Atlanta does. Even though Arthur Blank could buy and sell all of his fans a million times to the moon and back, he still appears to care if they are bought in or not. So I think that's something that we've got to insist on being more a part, or having our concerns be more listened to. But anyway, I think if you're calling, I think we've got some more calling, more folks calling in tonight. Again, 202-905 or 0454. I think we have Eric in Fairfax who wants to tell us that there's no hope.
I'll get Eric in. Here we go. We're gonna get Eric in Fairfax. Man, we're actually I am surprised at the lines that are lighting up right now. It's incredible, to be honest.
Everyone's mad.
Eric
loves to be mad. Eric, go ahead.
Eric, go ahead, my friend.
All right. Hello. I just want to say, I think a lot of people here are holding on to vestiges of hope that there's something to be salvaged from this 2020 season. And I think that is the wrong attitude to go into if you want to have any hope of enjoying any of the games left with DC this season. I think it's a dumpster fire from the top down. And who was it who said earlier we could compete in the East? What? Have you seen Philly? Have you seen Columbus, Toronto?
Just compete.
Orlando? No.
Yeah.
There's no hope. We are burning to the ground.
I think there's talent. I think there's talent to be a playoff team, Eric. But I think it's not being utilized properly. I mean, and being a playoff team is not being second, third, or even fourth in the East. I think this team could be 6th or 7th if they're firing on all cylinders, but they're not right now, and that's why I think there should be a coaching change. But
which is also a bummer. If that's our new horizon,
I mean that's what
it is right now. Like we should all be very sad.
That's where we are right now. I mean, it is what it is. So I mean, that would at least make this team at least mildly interesting, and there would be games I would be excited to watch. There's no excitement watching this game. I'm not looking forward to Wednesday. I'm not looking forward to Saturday. Sorry, Eric, I'm stealing your thunder, man. Go ahead.
Oh no. It's literally your show. But I just want to say, I agree. Like, the players are underperforming. I think that there is a valid argument there. But if you look at the team, we are made up of wingers, forwards, central defenders, and the very young and the very old. There is no spine right now to this team. Like, I can't look like Moses Nyman. God bless him. The kid's 16. Like, he's doing his best out there, but he's not going to coordinate a transition from defense to attack. Like, right now, it's booted up the field and pray that, like, Reyna or Kamara or the what's his name that we just got from Venezuela, like, that someone gets there. So I think we'll have a much better time if we just sit back and realize this is what 2020 DC is. We need a new coach. We need a litany of players to be moved. I feel like a lot of these players who have been playing, Birnbaum, Hamid, even, like, these guys have lost their confidence that they can play and win games. And I feel for them because these guys are good. They have been great. They have been MLS best 11 caliber players, last 2-3 years, and it tears at my heart. But like, I'm not gonna let it pull me down, because that's just that's what 2020 DC is. That's what we are, and
I don't think you're alone.
like, yeah.
I don't think you're alone.
Anyway,
I think there's a
I
lot
know
of
you guys
people
got other
there.
callers, but
Yeah.
Thank you for calling, and I think that viewpoint is certainly one that is not isolated. There are people that definitely feel that way. I kind of do. I think if I didn't have to stay up, I would fully embrace the nihilism that you're subscribing to. But I think we've got to. For me, I'm interested in seeing the young player. I want to see Moses Simon play every week. I want to see him. I want to see what he turns into, and he needs those minutes, and he's going to get them. Through injuries, through all the other things that are happening. Like, if that's what the result is, at least that there's nothing that can take that away, barring injury. Knock on wood. These young players are going to get their time. I'd like to see Donovan Pines back out there. He had his run. He made his mistakes. He did well. He made his mistakes. He did well. But just throw him out here now. Now it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can cycle out Briant and Birnbaum. Let him out there so the rest of the players are. What do you think? Do you think it's just you? I think that do you still feel what do you place the odds of sneaking into the playoffs at the 10th spot?
10%.
Oh, into the playoffs? Good Lord.
Ted, I know you. I know where you. I know your answer is 0%. But I was curious about Ted. Ted's at 10%.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. 10%.
No, that's fine. No, I get it. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're at 0%, right, Eric? That this.
I wouldn't say I'm at 0%. Weirder things. I wouldn't say weirder things have happened, but I remember how down I was in the 2018 season, and I was like, Rooney's an aged man. He comes in and something happens. So, I'm willing to have my viewpoint turned around, but they've got to do something. They can't just sit here and tread water and expect me to have a different viewpoint on where this team's going to be. Anyway, I renewed my season ticket for next year.
Yep.
Hey,
DC has bad seasons. They always turn it. Who would have thought 2013? After 2013, they turn it around. Maybe that'll happen this year. Eric, thanks so much for joining us, my friend.
Thanks, guys.
We'll catch you later. Appreciate the call.
It's like the stock market. Eventually, it always goes up.
Well, and this is
bad.
I mean, to be fair, this is what DC has been for 10 years. They always have catastrophically bad seasons. They get a high draft pick, so they get one of the three. I don't even know what the draft's going to look like. There's no one's playing. I mean, very few teams are playing college soccer right now. So what does the talent pool even look like? I mean, you're going to need like Travis Clark really digging into that. I'm not even sure. This might be like the worst year to have a high draft pick because there's literally nothing. Like there isn't a lot of college soccer going on that really you could build on. It's you look at that and I look at this. So if this was last season that the team had sort of gotten rid of, if the team had done what I think we all think they should have done and just said, you know what, Ben, this was your shot. We gave you everything. We spent more money on this roster than we've ever spent before, and
we're going to. We're not going to spend any more than this.
Yes.
So if you can't do it with this, you're never going to do it.
Yeah, it's all done. That's it. This is over. Let's bring somebody in. Then I would say, okay, they're players clearly that are gone. They need to bring in some different players. You already would have had your two main guys in Rooney and Acosta gone. This year, I mean, you've got a 5-year deal you've got a long-term contract for Paul, obviously. You got a long-term contract for Julian Gressel. You got a long-term contract for Edison Flores. I mean, sure, a long-term contract could mean they could literally say, we don't want Edison anymore. We can't afford his roster. Someone get him out of here. But I don't think they do that. I think you want to at least, you make an investment, you at least want to see it out a little bit before determining it's not going to work. You've got I think they just signed a long-term I want to say that Bale's still under a pretty much a long-term contract.
Yep.
I think I'm not sure what Steve's contract status is. I'm trying to remember, but I mean, they have
probably towards the end of a long-term deal now, probably 1 or 2 years left.
Yeah. So, but you have guys on this roster that you've already signed to long-term deals. So, maybe Kamara, I think may was on a 1-year deal. I'm not sure his status was really.
He will not be back next year. I will bet all my predictions have been wrong lately, but I would imagine
he'll get flipped somewhere else in the league. That's what's going to happen with that. You're correct.
Maybe an
about
expansion team will take him.
Yeah, they'll probably want his salary off the books. No question about it. But you look at that. I mean, those are pretty main roster spots. So, I mean, what can you do? This is why I'm not on the fence of like, oh, just blow it all up. And well, then you're saying 2021 is going to be bad. Maybe we're somewhat decent in 2022. Maybe you're really talking about just blowing it up. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair. I think it's fair on Ben because Ben's been here. Ben has been here from, if I hold by my logic in that 2010 to 2016, he was not given a lot, and then he's given something, and clearly that something showed that he has a ceiling as far as what he can do. In my opinion, that his ceiling has been hit. It's hit multiple times. It should have happened last year because we wouldn't be in the situation. But I think for the players that are on the field, I don't think it's fair to judge a lot of them. I don't think it's fair to judge Edison Flores right now. I don't think it's fair to judge Julian Gressel or Yamil Assad. Ola Kamara, I'm willing to listen to. I think we could maybe find something a little better. But I think those guys, they all have long-term deals. They're all going to be here for a couple more years. We're either they don't have any much value. Maybe Edison Flores you'd be able to sell for a couple million, but you're going to take a loss on him. So why not see if he can turn it around and then he can become a higher valued player. Julian Gressel, Paul Arriola, same thing. I mean, those are guys that aren't bums. They've been very successful in this league. Paul Arriola's obviously be injured. His whole 2020 season was cut loose. I think there's some guys. I think I would like to see the team. I love Felipe. Put him on as an assistant. I think he'd be a great assistant coach. But maybe find someone younger that you can sort of fill
next year. He's our best defensive midfielder before he got hurt.
I think you gotta look at getting this team back. But he doesn't advance this team as much as I would like. He's a great guy on the field, a great fighter. I'm sure he's a friend of the show too, and I'm sure he will. Maybe he's listening right now, and he's like, "Screw this."
Might be. So be nice.
I am of the opinion. I'm like, he's in his late 30s, early 30s at least. I mean, he's been in the league for a while. I mean, at this point, I'm like, if we're talking about like having like a rebuild, he would be a player I would look to maybe be a part of that, at least have reduced minutes. I would love to see somebody take his spot and challenge for his spot. I'd love to see Moses Nyman challenge for his spot next year and take it.
Yeah. I think that's fine. Listen, here, I would like a studs up rebuild. I absolutely would. I think that's fine. I think saying for the next 2 years we're going to be as bad as we were this year, but at least we have a plan. So Yamil Assad, I'm fine if he leaves. Ariel, you need some players that are still good. Where he's in for 5 years, play him next year, and then maybe hope to sell him on if he has a good year on a bad team. But yeah, I think an Edison Flores, you do have to let him rebuild a little value. But I think you move him on too, because none of them are going to be here when we're an MLS Cup caliber team. None of them. Maybe Paul, if he stayed his full 5 years, and he probably won't, and he probably doesn't want to. So for me, I would like to win trophies. That is my key thing. And if we're gonna do it, it's gonna be on the backs of young players that are better than we could have ever hoped them to be. So in that case, you got to buy a lot of lottery tickets. And this team that has some MLS vets, some proven players, but no one that's necessarily lighting the league on fire anymore with the way the team is set up, I don't think that gets us there. So from my perspective, you bring in a new GM, you bring in a new coach, you say, here are the assets that we have. We want to be somewhere in 2022. We want to be competing for the league in 2022. We're willing to give you X amount of dollars. Here are your assets. What is your plan? And if they, I'm okay with a version that's half of that says that we're not going to completely blow this thing up, but we realize that there are some players that we have to long-term contracts that we're not going to see utility out of, that are better off from us for being trades in the league. Trade Julian Gressel for all of the gam we spent somehow to a new. I don't know. I don't see the players as configured, even with a new coach, necessarily being what we need.
I would highly disagree with that. I would highly disagree of letting go of Julian Gressel. Lit it up for. There's a reason he's here, because he played really well in Atlanta. Paul Arriola has been injured, so I mean he doesn't even really count. I think you need it. You would obviously. I'm not saying this team's going to be world beaters, But I think, hopefully things are normal. Everybody, please vote in November. That's all I got to say about that. Hopefully
Our
things.
chat is voting about your wanting to get rid of Felipe, and they are not on your team.
Okay, well they can they can not be on my team. That's fine.
They have voted the
That's
other
fine.
direction.
I want players. I want if you're looking at a line, if you're looking at a line of players, you're looking at players. You want players overtaking him. If this team is still relying on a Felipe next year, I think things are in trouble. I'd love to see someone step up and sort of take his role. And take his job. That's more what I'm getting at here with him. I'm fine with keeping him on the roster, but he's a guy I'm looking at. I want somebody to take his place and be better than him. Great player, great has really endeared himself to the fan base and everything. But this is a zero-sum game, and even when he was on this roster, this team was not playing well. So you can't suddenly just excuse him. I'm sorry, you can't. You can't just excuse him for how this team has been playing. But I just don't. I look at this team, look at this roster, and I'm like, there are still good players here, and I think you need that season next year to at least figure out what you really have. And maybe it is nothing, but then if you're admitting that it's not working out, let's just get rid of everybody. Then you have no idea. You have no idea if Julian Gressel can regain form. You're shipping off somewhere, and guess what? He's probably going to become a really good player. Paul's here, so we're gonna leave him out. He wasn't playing, so he's here. But a guy like Emil Assad, you ship him off back to Atlanta. He then lights it up, starts lighting it up for Atlanta. I mean, I could see that happening. I mean, then you're missing out. Then you're gonna look even worse. So you might as well just stick it out for a year. And then players have literally given you no more excuses. They say, okay, 2020, we had a bad situation at coach. We had a bad situation overall with the stop-start seasons, COVID, everything. You know what? Everybody, this is a clean slate. Bill, Julian, Paul, Edison, Yamil, clean slate. Some guys, we're going to move some guys around, but are the guys that we signed to long-term contracts at the beginning of the year, the guys that are here for multiple seasons, we're clean slate one more season. We're going to get some help. We're going to find some different players. I don't think you can do that with some of these guys. I think you need to see what these have, because these are not bum players, and I think they could surprise you under a different management situation and a guy that can figure out how to use them. Now, if a new manager comes in and says, nope, I don't want any of these guys, then so be it. But I just don't think you just toss these guys because of one bad year. I think you look at the coach and you say, look, you've had 2-3 years of a good roster. We gave you at least some good players to be a competitive team. We're not a competitive team. So, I mean, I don't agree with this idea of just tossing out a lot of these guys. I think
if you play them, if you give them another year and they still suck, then their value is even lower.
But their values are already bad. So, but you take that risk. You take that risk. You take that risk when you sign a player to a long-term deal that their value goes up. That's a risk you take regardless. And I don't see the point in just jettisoning a bunch of players and then trying to then you are giving up on 2021. You are saying 2021 is a wash. And I don't think that's a smart move. I think you bring somebody in and see what you can get out of some players. Because then otherwise your rebuild's a lot quicker if it's a success. And then you're admitting really that you guys have no idea what you're doing if you're doing that. And I just think that's the wrong move. Wrong move.
All right. They're not going to do what I want them to do anyway. So we're gonna ride the same boat into the same waters next year with a new coach, and we're not going to buy anybody new because that would require lots of money. So we're gonna see if it was just Ben, and if it wasn't, then we're 1 year further away from then building out what we need to be. So it doesn't matter. I think the only thing that's going to change is the coach, because that's the cheapest thing to do. So we'll see that in 2021. I think we've beaten the team to death here. I think we've got a little bit of news, and I think we can wrap up the show. There was a lot of conversation the last couple days about if the players that were going to be called up for international duty in South America and Central America were going to be able to be released. There are challenges there, obviously, because of quarantine. The amount of days that they would have to miss both for the games and then when they got back away from the teams. There was a lot of sort of conversations with the league, and Ben had been asked sort of, what do you think about this? And he wisely was like, that's not my job, above my pay grade. That is somebody else's problem. It appears that DC is going to keep all of their players, Junior Moreno, Edison Flores, who I guess is back in training wearing a mask, it would have been ridiculous if his first match in 2 months was with his national team in a game. I think these are friendlies, right? Or are these qualifiers?
No, these are World Cup qualifiers.
Okay, well, they're at least games that matter. And then I think also was Ulises Segura was not called up. He's still injured, so that wasn't him. And Yordi
Reyna.
Yordi Reyna was the other one that was called up. Nobody's going. We're keeping all of our players.
Let me say this. FIFA is absolutely showing they have no leadership. There should be. It is one thing to have domestic games. It is one thing to have domestic games where you're traveling within your country. To be encouraging international games and international travel, or leaving it up to the confederations, is without a doubt one of the most stupid things I think. And I am glad. I know DC had an easy out. I'm sure that we just can't do it. Otherwise, we're gonna have we're gonna be suiting up Ben Olsen and Chad Ashton out there at this point. I'm sure that was went into part of it. And I think it was easy to say that the line. I mean, they would basically be out for the rest of the year. I mean, they would be gone. There is no way. There is no way that those players would be back for the rest of the season, in my opinion. And you're risking them getting COVID in a lot of areas that have not had it under control. So CONMEBOL again is showing no leadership. The World Cup. If the World Cup, thankfully, you have an extra 6 months. Why is there suddenly this huge rush to play World Cup qualifiers? Split the group up in South America. Have it be 2 groups. Play less games. This should not be happening right now. This should absolutely not be happening right now. And they're putting clubs in bad situations. They are putting leagues in bad situations. I don't even think UEFA should be playing right now. There should be no international games, no international travel, period. CONCACAF, surprisingly, is the one league that is like, yeah, we're not doing this right now. We can't do this right now. There's no way we can guarantee safety. So
from the player's perspective, though, at least I get it that they want to go play any game that actually matters and where there's actually like some stakes to it. I don't blame Moreno wanting to go play for Venezuela right now, as opposed to beat out the sort of the dead end of the season here in DC, where I'm sure no one's having fun. So I don't blame them, but I am glad from saving them from themselves. I think it was probably the best decision for them to stay. I
would contend there are reports that there are a lot of players. There are players out there that do not want to travel. They do not want to risk traveling internationally right now to go to these games. I'm sure there's some that still want to do it.
Some travel private.
Yeah.
Some other MLS players who made it. That doesn't to or not. It's hard to say.
That doesn't guarantee. I mean, that doesn't guarantee your safety at all. It doesn't. It doesn't guarantee your safety, even if you travel. MLS is taking the same risk, and I'm not excusing them, but traveling internationally, having players come from literally every single country, you're increasing your risk, in my opinion, a lot more. And it's at this point, I'm like, it's silly to be doing World Cup qualifiers. We can figure out World Cup qualifying. It's not a big deal. We can figure that out later. And honestly, it's a tournament in Qatar that's going to be a mess logistically, and it's going to take place in November, which is going to be weird. And it's already blowing up the club season. So you know what? Like, why? Like, what is the meaning behind this right now during a global pandemic? So, and right now also when things are rising, they're rising all over. They're rising in Europe. They're rising in the U.S. I mean, this is Europe is already actually going through its second wave right now. There's already been a game in England that's had to be canceled. So
yeah, enjoy your games, guys. enjoy these games now. They may not play a whole season out. So just keep that in mind on your Saturdays and Sundays. Get in all those games you can, because when the second wave hits, a lot of these places they may have to shut it down again. So just keep that in mind. I mean, that's obviously secondary, yeah. but it will change what you're doing on the weekends when these games go away. So as we wrap up, I just want to make sure again I blew my plugs up front strategy. We've got 6 days left now, 5 days when you hear this episode if you're listening on podcast, to get the T-shirt before the orders are closed and it's sent out. So if you're interested in that, go to rfkrefugees.com/merch and buy a T-shirt. They're very cool, and we like them, and we want you to have them. Also, there's stickers. Those will be there. There's no deadline on those. Take your time. But we're the website's still there. Ted wrote a great article about Ben before the game even happened, talking about sort of what this year was like, and what sort of how should we be grading him, and maybe all the excuses that you could give him still aren't enough. So check that out if you haven't. It's a good read. Particularly check that out if you think that we're all Ben apologists up in here all the time.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
If
certain former co-hosts,
certain former co-hosts of the show. He may
I'm
not even talk.
I'm just glad he listens. I'm just glad he's a fan.
He may not even talk about us, but if he's listening to the show, I don't know how you could say that. But
yeah, I'm sure he is. Anyway, thanks for all the callers. We love when you guys call in. Certainly, there was a lot to talk about tonight. We're gonna need you the rest of the way. I think the conversations are gonna be similar as they were tonight, but keep watching. We're not gonna preview this game this Wednesday. Let's all just get through it together. Let's all just make it through, and hopefully maybe we get. I still think we need 3 points for the rest of the month to not be the worst point total of DC United history. So hope for that.
Yep. I don't. We didn't even talk. We could have talked about something nice. We could have talked about the Spirit and how they won and how they finished. I think 7 points in their game.
We'll have time. From Yuki. There's not going to be a lot of fun things to talk. Their season's done, but we can go back and do a retrospective at the fall series.
Yes.
Next episode.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you all for listening. You guys are all legends for sitting through this wonderful time of John and I yelling at each other.
It's good. It's good. We're going
catharsis.
the Stephen A. Smith skip route.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all the callers, by the way. People who called in to the show who we got a lot of call action, which is what we want. We want calls to come into the show. So thank you all so much for calling in. You guys are awesome, and we will catch you all next week. Vamos.